All right, we are going to be joined now by Becky Laramie from All Points Limo Service. This is behind the scenes at the Hanover Theatre with Lisa Condon. But clearly, I'm not Lisa, and I do apologize for that. It's just me, Hank, and I'll be handling things today as Lisa is off. And let's get to the phones and let's introduce you to Becky. And Becky, so glad that you're able to join us today. Good morning.
It's good to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Becky, tell us a little bit about All Points Limo Service.
We're a small transportation company. Main branch is located in Millbury. We deal with anyone from going to a doctor's appointment, one person in a car, right up to a motor coach filled with 52 people traveling up and down the eastern seaboard. So I have about, I had about 45 employees.
Wow.
And hopefully they'll all be back soon.
You know, you say small, but I think, boy, 45 employees for a limo service seems pretty large to me. Obviously, you guys are doing a great job. How did it start out? Did it start out as just you and one limo? What's a little bit of the backstory?
Backstory is I grew up in the transportation business. My parents were motor coach bus drivers, so kind of just loved the idea of it. Went off to college, became an accountant, and then was just looking for a business opportunity. And this limo company was sort of going out of business, so I came in and bought their client list. No cars, bunch of people trying to get somewhere, and I just jumped in. My brother joined forces with me, so we were partners for many, many years. We started back in 2008, just getting folks back and forth to that incredible airport, Boston. No one likes to go there. It's a pretty crazy place. So we started with one car, and now we have, I don't know, probably maybe 25, 26 cars and buses, and we don't do limos too much anymore. It seems to be kind of a fading away thing. We keep one just for funerals and Make-A-Wish, because we do a lot of work with the Make-A-Wish program.
Isn't that interesting? So the limo itself, or what we think of as the Big Stretch Limo, that's not as much in demand. What kind of vehicles are in demand?
Well, it is buses. That's just the way I believe that social media brings larger groups of people together in a much easier way than maybe when I was a kid. You only know the kids in your neighborhood and the ones you went to high school with, and nowadays, you know, my daughter can probably get together, 25 people in the matter of 2 hours with social media. Wow. Connecting them all. So it's big groups, and they like to do things together and take lots of selfies and lots of pictures and post them everywhere. So, you see motor coaches in everyone's kind of story because they're all together in big groups.
Well, I do certainly love the fact that people are getting together. This obviously, is part of the conversation, kind of pre-COVID-19. We'll get to that, and what that must have done to the business over the last couple of months. But I am just blown away in a dozen years by the phenomenal growth that you had. I mean, clearly there was something that you and when you were partners with your brother were doing. What is it that you think set All Points limo service apart that allowed you to have that phenomenal growth?
Well, to be honest, I think it's the people around me. I just think that I have some amazing employees that have been with me since the start, and they kind of get it. We work together as a team, and if they see an opportunity, they bubble it right up and say, hey, Beck, there's this, big company moving in, and we believe they do international travel. You should go speak with them. So it's almost like having, 25 salespeople out in the force, always looking out to help grow your business. So we became very lucky being surrounded by amazing, amazing employees that are just a part of our team. We were lucky enough to acquire a couple companies, And when I say acquire a company, like that company has to choose you. It's not all about money. When you build a company, it's like your baby. It's your family. So you don't just sell it to anyone for the highest dollar. You just don't.
Mm.
So in buying a couple other companies up, I was chosen to be able to take over that company. And again, I feel like I was very lucky to be introduced to these people and have these people trust me to take on, to continue with their history. The companies that I've bought have been in business over 20 years. The last one I bought, 31 years in business. And for that gentleman to choose me as the buyer, there were plenty of other buyers available. And I imagine they probably offered a little more than I did. But he chose me. So it was an exciting adventure to be able to incorporate new clients into the current client base we had built over time. And that's sort of how we became a little larger, is with great staff and a few very strong acquisitions that worked out to gain a great clientele. Just our clients are amazing.
Sure, and it sounds as if your staff is certainly amazing as well. 45 people who were working for the company before the coronavirus hit. What makes a good limo driver, or a good driver, and I understand that it isn't strictly limos now, but what makes a good limo driver, and how many this is a full-time job, and how many it's something that they do on the side?
I would say I'd probably have maybe 15 full-time drivers. The black car side, or the private car side of our company, probably has a good 7 or 8 full-time that end up with overtime hours. And then we have a shuttle division where we work with the colleges, where, again, blessed to work with Worcester State University, and we get to transport their students. So that's a shuttle driver, and I probably have about another 7 or 8 full-time shuttle drivers on that side. So they were devastated when, college closed. Those folks get to know their students. They're a part of the student's day. So, they're just ripped away from it. They miss their students, those shuttle drivers. But to make a good shuttle driver, or to make a good limo driver, you have to be good at service. Not everyone is good at service. So you have to have compassion for humans. You have to be able to kind of see what people won't say, so that you know when it's time to speak, and you know when it's time to not speak. And the things to say that are helpful, and things to never say. You can just kind of tell, when a person's come off a big, long trip. They've been in the air for 23 hours from Shanghai. The last thing you want to do is make small talk. So you're just quiet, and, you take the route that they like, and maybe you stop and get them a Dunkin' coffee. And it's just about being kind to the other humans that are around you. And that's including our shuttle folks. They are just kind. And I think that's the best driver there is.
Yeah, I love that. So some of it really is intuition. I don't know, limo drivers, bartenders, psychologists. There's a little bit of
Correct.
that. Yeah, Becky, when
Correct.
you were working, but you're the founder, of course, of All Points Limo Service. But when you were working for your parents, were you behind the wheel at one point too?
So I didn't actually work for my parents. My parents
Okay.
just were in the industry when I was young. So we got to kind of go on the trips with them as their kids and stuff. So we were just introduced to it. I never worked for my parents. Actually, my parents worked for me. They helped me grow the business. My mom joined us right from day one, right until she passed away 4 years ago. She was our office manager and took care of everything. So I do drive. I don't have a big CDL license, so I don't drive the big buses, but I do drive, certain particular clients from time to time. If there's an issue with a client, they need to have a little, private time, maybe so I can learn something. So I don't drive much anymore, but in the beginning I changed tires and tie rod ends and starters, and I drove the clients, and I changed the oil, and, my brother and I did everything in the beginning. But now we're lucky enough to have an incredibly supportive staff that takes care of all that stuff.
That is very, very
But
cool.
we've had some pretty exciting people in the car, especially coming from the theater. We get to drive their performers, which is very exciting. You get to go up to the private airport. A lot of big business comes in to the private airport up in Worcester as well. But it's nice to have the airport have some famous folks travel through it, and nice to have them in the back of your car. And they're just regular folks. You think of them as these, icons of theater, and just you think of them as these crazy, amazing people, but they're just regular folks. They're just, it's great to be able to chat with them. So.
Well, Becky, I'm glad that you said that. You're kind of doing my job for me. For those who have been listening and going, I thought I tuned into behind the scenes at the Hanover Theatre. Where's the Hanover Theatre piece? Thank you for bringing it back to that. That is the connection, of course, is that you are the limo service for the Hanover, whether it is for, and I'm sure that there's some parties that you're bringing to the Hanover of people who, when they go, or if it is some of the big names that you're doing. Tell us a little bit about this connection with the Hanover.
Well, I was able to meet with Lisa from the Hanover, probably about 5 or 6 years ago. We worked on a project in the city, just volunteering, and it was just an amazing experience to watch the theater grow, and it's just an incredible place. And now they were looking for a new partnership, and we were lucky enough again to be chosen on their short list. And when we came together, it looked like it was going to be a good partnership. So not only do we help bring their, big names from private airports or any airport, but we do large group moves for them as well. So sometimes, they'll have us move like a whole theater group so that are performing. And we also bring folks that have nothing to do really with the partnership, but we bring folks back and forth to the Hanover. It's a nice theater, and folks just don't want to have to park, so they use our service to attend the shows. But Lisa and her crew over there are incredible marketeers. They just really know how to get their message out, make sure that it's heard, and I mean, they're just really great to work with. So not only do we get to learn a lot from them, but we also get to give them different ideas on how to use transportation to their benefit. It can be an added benefit when they're bringing folks to a place that doesn't have a big parking lot, or, so we offer a little bit extra for them, to offer to their groups coming in. So great people, just great people over there.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I think that it's great for us to hear that, too, because, of course, when we meet them going into the theater, that's the impression that we get. And it's nice to hear that that's the way that it is behind the scenes as well. And indeed, everyone, you are listening to Behind the Scenes at the Hanover Theatre. I'm Hank Stoltz. Lisa Condon is off today. She'll be back next week, of course, to bring you Behind the Scenes. And we are very pleased to be talking with one of the Hanover's great partners. And that is Becky Laramie from All Points Limo Service. And just talking about the way in which, I mean, who would have thought that? But I mean, that the limo service and such great partners, and good point that Becky just gave us. Listen, if you find just going in or getting in to be a hassle, and you're going to one of the great Broadway shows that they have at the Hanover, and you say, boy, wouldn't it be great if somebody just came and picked me up and got me there, and then I didn't have to worry about it? There you go. All Points Limo Service. And now, Becky, I'm guessing the question that you get more than ever, and you talked about some of the famous people who have been in the limos, or that you have picked up in the cars from the airport, but I need you to name some names. So who are some of the most famous people you've had?
Well, I have to tell you, Hank, what happens in limo stays in a limo. It's sort of like Vegas. So I'd love to give you some names, but if they played at the theater, they've probably been in my car. So we'll give you those as names.
All right. Yeah, that's a pretty long list and a pretty distinguished list as well. And as you talked about, all different kinds of folks too, and the way in which you kind of know if somebody wants to talk, if somebody would rather that you be a little bit more on the quiet side. All right. So now let me ask you what is probably the second biggest question that you hadn't ever gotten until just these last few weeks. COVID-19. I mean, here you have this business, 12 years. You grow it from the single auto all the way up to the fleet, 45 employees. Boom. Hanover, one of your clients, of course, they have to shut down. They may not. We're fingers crossed. I understand we're looking at October. That would be wonderful. But I'm sure that you had a lot of your clients who had that experience. What happened during these last couple of months with coronavirus with All Points Limo?
Well, we never had to close because we are transportation, but we're transportation to the airport. So nobody's traveling. Everyone's afraid that every surface is contaminated. Everyone's afraid that every person they walk into has this terrible plague. So people are afraid. And then you add government regulation on top of that. Or I guess it's not really regulation, it's just choice. So we've found that it's, we're probably 90% down. So 90% on March 17th, I laid off or furloughed, shall I say, all my employees. Saddest day of my life. These folks depend on me to pay their mortgage, to send their kids to college. That's a big deal for an employer. It's not me over here trying to make money. I don't even know if I think of it that way. It's, hey, we're this great group of folks that are working this project together, and we do it so that we can all better ourselves. And then suddenly, boom, done. Like, now what do we do? So, I feel that it will come back. I'm a part of some large groups inside the transportation industry, the New England Livery Association. I'm also a part of that, and my daughter sits on their board. So we work towards making sure that, as a transportation industry, we were already, excessively clean and all about customer service. And so we kind of were already poised to be, protecting. Our cars are clean 2, 3, 4 times a day just naturally. So to add, the scare factor, I think that's why folks, at least the 10% are still traveling, because they know that, we have full-time detail staff cleaning our cars. And right now, even though there are less cars, I still pay a full-time detailer. We've bought some additional chemicals and things of that nature. But we were already cleaning HEPA filters in the cars and door handles. And although some of the cars actually don't even have door handles anymore, kind of crazy. You press a button and you get out. But all the buttons were cleaned as well. Like, they're just, everything's, it looks like you get in a brand new car every time you drive in it. So,
Wow.
but it's 90% down. 90%, and it's because people are afraid.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of talk in the transportation industry about putting up those dividers between the driver and the passenger, and I just don't buy into that. I'm not a taxi. I don't want to look like a taxi, and I don't believe that's a safe thing. So I believe a car was built by the car company with all its airbags and all its seatbelts, and I'm going to keep the inside as it intended so that my clients are safe. I wouldn't want something to come flying in their face that's been attached inside one of these vehicles. So, but there's 50% of the transportation industry that believes in it. So I'm just not that side. We're seeing some uptick. We're seeing families traveling again. Finally, Florida's open, so families are traveling again. So hopefully we can get the theater open. because that was a great part of what we did as well. Small groups. We were working with the theater to get larger groups there. That's good for them. That's good for us. Folks being together. Here in Massachusetts, though, it's a little different than it is in Texas. I have partners in Texas, Alaska, all across the country. Here it's different. It's just a lot more fear here than in Texas. So they're not even wearing masks there.
Yeah.
And yes, whatever people believe, but their businesses are picking up much more quickly. And everyone's an adult; they can choose.
Yeah. See, and that is the thing is, as you
Disney
said.
World.
I was going to say, or Disney World, but now we're seeing where Texas might be slowing down a little bit, and so boy, it sure does go back and forth. But when you say something like 90% down, wow, that is tough. You also mentioned though that as it comes back, and all fingers crossed that it that is going to come back stronger than maybe some have predicted. Because I think I think I'm with you, Becky, in kind of where you were going. I mean, I think people want to, right? Like people want to use the service, people want to travel, people want to get back out to restaurants. I mean, so I do think all that's going to pick up fairly quickly. You had mentioned, the fact that getting some maybe larger groups back to the theater. Tell me about that specifically. I know that Hanover, right, they're putting together packages, and so it's going to kind of be maybe 10 or more to go out to the shows when they come back, and that will include transportation. Are there things, you talked about not wanting to have the barriers, you're not taxis. Are there things, though, that you would have to do, because you said how much of it now was like kind of the, what are they, I don't know, like little buses where you've got maybe 25, 45 people on it. Are you going to be able to do that, or do you have to leave like a certain amount of space on the bus, or how will that work?
Well, the way that we are looking at it as a transportation industry as a whole is that this is a private vehicle. You hire me privately, and if you want to stick 25 people in that vehicle, that's your private right. My job is to keep my employees safe. But your job is to do what you feel is right for you folks. So I'm not going to tell a college that you can't put, 10 people in a 14-passenger bus. And if you do this social distancing thing in a motor coach that holds 55 people, that motor coach can only hold 12. It's just the reality of this, if we're going to live in a test tube and we're all going to stand 6 feet away from one another, I just don't know that, that's a reality. So we leave it to the client, and the client is responsible. There are all kinds of, legal ramifications when you hire our service. You're agreeing to a number of things that, we expect you to perform whatever you're doing safely, legally. And you sign off saying that. So, again, what happens in a limo stays in a limo, and you agree to be law-abiding citizens when you enter our vehicles. So, those are the ways that we're handling it. We just don't think it's a reality to sit 6 feet apart. It's not real. We can't live in a test tube. So.
Well, Becky, with a lot of our audience, you're definitely preaching to the choir. Listen, because we just have 1 minute or so left, I want to make sure that people who are listening to you, who like what it is that you're saying, that they have the opportunity to be able to connect with you. How do they do that? And then if we just want to, one more time, give a quick plug to the Hanover as well. Looking forward to their coming back, and make sure that you're using All Points Limo to get to the Hanover with those groups. But how do people get in touch with you?
Well, we have a very memorable number. So if you'd like to chat with us in person, we're old school. We like to chat. So our number is 800-400-1900, and that's All Points Limousine. We have great staff. Shauna or Serena, Brittany or Becky could answer the phone and take whatever information you need. And just remember that the Hanover is our local theater, but it is a big theater. I've traveled all across the world, and this is one of the nicest theaters that you will ever go to. And it's got history here in the city. So don't forget to go to the Hanover and take us, All Points Limousine, give us a call, 800-400-1900. And Hank, thanks so much for having us. This is a
Becky,
great experience, and hope everyone out there is safe.
thank you. And that is the perfect place to end it. Becky, thank you. Becky Laramie, All Points Limo, and the Hanover Theater. They're coming back. They're going to be stronger than ever.